Okay, call the meeting to order. Budget workshop for the City of Marine City, Tuesday, April 12th, 2022, 6 p.m. With that, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call vote, please. Wow, roll call, please. A long day.
Commissioner Bryson.
Here.
Commissioner Hendrick. Here. Commissioner Callahan.
Here.
Commissioner Klassen.
Here.
Commissioner Kreidler.
Here.
Commissioner Ross.
Here.
Mayor Buchanan is absent. City Manager Tapman.
Here.
I need a motion to excuse Mayor Buchanan.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Public comment. Anyone in attendance is welcome to address the City Commission. Please state your name and limit comments to 5 minutes. This is the time for you to raise issues. The Commission will not respond, but issues will be followed up on as necessary. Anyone for public comment? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Support. We have motion, support. Any discussions, additions, changes, deletions?
No change there, but can I make a comment?
Yep.
I just got this probably about 10 o'clock today, and I haven't seen it. So I don't know how I can vote on it, but I will listen.
Any other discussions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have no unfinished business, so moving on to new business, the 2022-2023 budget. Holly?
First, I just want to say, Bill, I'm sorry that you didn't get it, but it was sent out this week, and there was the caveat in there, if anybody could not or did not want to print it because it was a large document, we had them printed and here in the office for anybody. So we're always a resource. If it's too big to print at home, please call us. We'll make you a copy and we'll have it here ready for you so that you don't have to do it at home.
Well, it's been working, but now it says I don't have the app. Now I don't know what happened there. It worked fine for the last year and a half, and all of a sudden I can't get it to work. So.
I guess one question I have is, why did we get it so late on Wednesday at 6 p.m. when we were supposed to get it on the 5th?
Because that's when we got it done. I mean, I've been very bluntly honest with you guys through this entire process. This has been a ton of work, and I've been doing 2 jobs.
Yep,
I have done the best I can. I have worked with UHY to get everything in. I was taking this home on nights and weekends to make updates and make sure that things were done. And then when UHY would come in, we would plug things into BSNA. There's only so many hours in the day, and it was a day difference. It's when we could get it out.
But this thing is dated 10:30 a.m. on the 5th, so it was done apparently on the 5th at 10:30. That's the date it's on what we've got. But we didn't get it till 6 p.m. the following day.
Right, but I still wrote my memo. I still had to make sure I had staff in the office to hit send on the email. I still had to have Shannon there to upload it to the web.
But we only had a week. I mean, the whole point here is that we only have 1 week to go through all this. You've had a lot longer to go through this. And for us to that cut us down to 5 days because we got it 2 days later. And then I had to wait and go in to get the copy. It makes it a lot harder for us to try to do this, and because there's a lot to go through, and trust me, I've gone through this thing a lot, but when we don't get it on the date that it was supposed to be delivered, and then 2 days, we get cut out 2 days. So that's kind of not fair to us either, so I can understand where he's coming from.
I'm doing the best I can. And this is a work group to discuss any of the questions that you have. and you don't vote this out until the 5th anyway, so there is still more time. And there are things that'll be talked about tonight that still may need to change or amend. So what you're looking at right now is probably not the final document that you're gonna see on the 5th anyway. So that's the whole point of today. There's a lot of stuff in here. So the purpose of this work group is to discuss the 2022-23 budget. We're not here to discuss the other budget, our current fiscal year. Now, there may be some reference to it because ultimately what happened in the current fiscal year dictated some of what is done in this budget, but the point of this work group is this budget. So I'm gonna jump right into just some of the higher points on it. I will tell you it's a very simple budget. We did not put much in it. We did not build in any big capital outlay projects. We did not do any of that because frankly speaking, this fiscal year overspent by a great deal of money. And I wanted to scale back next year's because I wanted to make sure that we had a surplus of money, that we were not dipping into our fund balances 2 years in a row. So it's a very straightforward, very vanilla budget. And we can go by departments. There's no point in going line by line because you guys don't care about $100 in a supply line. So I think the majority makes sense to maybe go by page or department. And then if you have any questions on that department, you can let me know. If there's no questions, we can move on. Because truly, some of it, other than what I call truing up, which is making the amended budget what we're spending right now, and what we think we'll need for next year, some of these budgets or departments and boards hardly changed from the previous year.
Well, I got lots of questions I can let you know. Everybody knows that when I go through these budgets, I go through with a fine-tooth comb. So
And that's fine,
I'd like to cover this first page.
okay?
And would be nice if when we get a new copy, can they put the page numbers on? Because there's no page numbers on it.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to start out with the question on the current property tax. I don't understand why we lowered it. It's in the audit, what we got out last year, and there is a May payout that comes. So I'm kind of wondering why we chopped that down so much.
Because when we were looking at the county numbers and what had come in, it did not appear that we will be getting what we got in past years. So we did lower it to be in line with what we needed, where we're falling.
I took a lot of the information out of our audit because he's got a lot of the final figures for this. These current figures, you can get, the state has them online. They're also in this book. And I think we're just going a little too low on that one. And I think that's just going to make it look kind of goofy.
Well, one thing you will learn about me is I will not overinflate revenue.
No,
That is
I
a
understand
big
that.
mistake, and I
But
want to say
your
that.
revenue isn't going to go down from last year. Whatever we got last year, you could pretty much say that you're probably going to get about the same at least this year. So, okay. Next thing is the PILT line, payment in lieu of taxes. Is there any reason why that jumped up? Because we don't get all that money. That's the DNR site, and the county and the school get their portion. And I believe, looking at some of the past stuff, that hasn't changed, the 7730, so I'm kind of curious as why it was up to 10. That's the money they send us for the tax.
Offline,
We actually received that amount.
We
and sent
received
to
it.
the county, and then she'll send it back to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get a certain amount, but what we usually get back is the 7730, is what I'm trying to say.
She told me that we'd be getting the whole 15 back.
No,
Denise at the
part goes to the county, part goes to the school.
we'll verify.
We'll verify, okay, thank you.
All right. Let's see. I know business licenses, I saw you changed them in the thing, but we're lowering our expectation of business licenses and permits even though we're increasing the fees.
Yes.
So
You can estimate how many of those that you're going to get annually, because not everybody does them, and we have lost businesses. So again, it's one of those things where I don't like to overestimate the revenue. It's, you play it safe, and if more comes in, great, but you're not setting yourself up to fail.
All All right, next one is the building department permits. This one here, I think we ought to be changing. Oh, and one thing too on this budget, you've got original budget, and then you have amended budget. That should really be original budget through the end, not, because there's nothing amended.
Because
We
you
don't
didn't do
amend it.
one. You should.
Exactly. So that's not really correct as far as the titles on the column there. Anyway, so the building permits, those went up. It looks like we've got activity, you got a projected activity of 62, but you're only gonna put in 45.
Right, because again, we don't know who's gonna build next year. I don't wanna overestimate what we think we might get. Yes, there's a lot of building happening this year, which tells me we may not have a lot next year. So we don't wanna overestimate.
Okay, sales tax and CBT payment, I checked that out too in Curtis's book. He says that we will have 543,000, but we've kept the figure the same at 480.
Because based on what we have seen come in so far, with the end of June looming, we do not think that we'll actually have that
That is
much
his
money in
end of
it.
June figure, it's the 543. That's what I'm telling you. This audit gives you all the figures to the end of June, so that you know what your things are. So that's my concern, is that his audit, he double checks those things, and he's got it at 543 and we're at 480. So just a point. And the state also gives estimate, those are all online too, and they're usually pretty close. They have a whole chart out there that you can look at. Grants and Community Foundation is the 45, is that what we've got for the house tear down?
That's a portion of it.
All right, let's see, what else do I got here? I noticed we dropped the zoning board of appeals fee, $1,000 to 500. We don't anticipate at least leaving it the same?
No, because we haven't gotten any money in to justify keeping it the same.
Planning review fee, same thing. Let's see, that one there, we have activity of 1854, but you're leaving it at 16.
Yes.
Okay, next one, charges for services, is that election money?
I don't know what that is, to be honest with you, off the top of my head.
Okay.
Charges for services. I mean, it's a minimal amount of money anyway,
Yeah, but we should know what these things
so
are.
it's,
Okay, you've got the refuse, is the refuse, is that per contract?
yes,
Okay. What's this miscellaneous revenue, is that the money for the marina?
yes, that is the DNR trust fund money.
Okay, library expenses, that went from 13.5 to 6. Activities at 85, just curious.
Which one?
Miscellaneous revenue library. Just maybe less people using the library.
Yeah. Yeah, again, just not, we are trying to, so if things were overinflated, and I'll be honest with you, there was a lot of revenue that was overinflated in last year's budget. It was. The numbers have not come in to prove that that's what it should have been estimated at. You have to use historical knowledge to justify increasing a revenue. That wasn't done with many of the revenue line items. So what we have done in the projected activity is true up the numbers to based on where we're spending and then estimate what is going to be the difference between now and the end of June. The requested budget, unless we know otherwise, like we're getting some big late payment from the county or the state that's going to come in May or June, our requested budget for next year is based on how we're falling this year. And if things looked like they were amped up from last year, we brought it back in line with where the dollars are falling now, so that this year's budget is more realistic.
Are we ever gonna do the rental registration stuff? I see we're basically cutting it just that almost out.
Yeah, until we get a program in place that is properly funded for our building official to do, that's kind of a wash right now.
So even though we have tons and tons of rentals, we're not gonna do anything with that for a while?
Yep.
Alright, let's see what else I got here.
So that'd be a more defined ordinance for
Correct.
Tracy to follow, okay?
Yes. And a funding mechanism for it, and typically the funding mechanism feeds itself with the building department.
Mhm.
The fines and the fees that you get based on things justifies the expense. But right now, we have a contract with him with how many hours he works. So if
Okay.
you're foregoing one thing to get the other, so yeah, there'd be some bigger changes for that.
Well, we do have ordinances for it already, we're just not enforcing it.
We don't have a contract with our building official to do it. That's the problem.
When is Tracy's contract up? Or, renewal? I don't know.
We have to look at it. We just redid it with Bob to have a more official one in place. I'll have to look at it again to see when it actually expires. But yeah, it's all about how many hours he's
Right,
willing to do.
and that was set up by Elaine, so.
Yeah,
And I still think we should be looking at those fees too, that we're giving them 75% of the fees. That's just mostly unheard of in most communities. All right, I'm gonna go down to the 667-003. It says special asses. Now, that used to be our Homeland Security Tower. Why did we change the title of that particular item? And the fee too, because we get that certain fee for that tower every year. It's the one downtown.
It's just for special assessment, right?
Yeah, it used to say Homeland Security Tower Lease. That was in last year's budget. Same line item, same number.
I don't know. I know.
Which one?
We'll have to look.
It says special assess, ASSES.
Or-
It's .003.
You can look at it two ways. Anyway,
I can get verification on that.
This is I've got the old budget. And it's
Yep,
it's
so
the
do I.
same thing, same number, and it says Homeland Security Tower Lease, and we get a certain amount, and this amount has dropped. Now, that's per contract, so I don't think it's gonna drop. It's either gonna stay the same or it's gonna increase.
Was our, I mean, it's a little over half, right, that we've collected
Well,
thus
they
far.
pay you at
so-
odd times too.
Oh, I see, okay.
So you can't go by that because you don't have the whole year. But we get the 30,720, which is what we got in the original budget. That's what should come in for this year because it's per, like I said, it's per a contract.
I'll verify.
Yeah, and maybe get that fixed there. The next one is the Pavilion Rental. It says we budgeted 2,000. We came in with that much activity, and that one's really popular, so I'm kind of wondering why we dropped it in half to 1,000.
Because
You don't think people are gonna rent it?
you don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
All right.
You got a
Insurance,
comment on it, Mike?
Yes, we didn't rent it out that much last year. That's why.
you rented $2,000 worth?
Well, yeah. But, we went $2,000 worth?
That's what it says here.
Yeah, that's what's come in, so.
So far.
Again, it's, my answer doesn't change for the revenue. I just don't
There.
overestimate it.
The Telecommunications Rose Fund, why did that get eliminated?
We eliminated it because we had gotten no money in for it. So I didn't want to put a $15,000 assumption in for next year if we didn't even get that this year.
Did you opt out?
I've opted out of nothing. I can't speak to what was done before I got here. I don't know.
Okay, that's a local communications stabilization act. It's a signed contract for the right-of-ways. They pay it once a year. So I'm kind of, it's probably going to come in late. My understanding, it comes in late April or May. So I'm concerned that
I'll verify.
yeah, because that's per, we have an agreement with them.
It's where phone lines and things are passing through
Yeah, it's kind of a, you have to opt out of it, otherwise they send you the money. So that's why I just want to make sure we didn't opt out. And then the last one is the gain on sale for the, this, I assumed was the
This,
thought of the 300,000 for,
that was an
Yeah, I see.
assumption put in last year's budget of the sale of 303 Water Street.
okay. So you don't anticipate it selling it this year?
I am not going to anticipate what this commission is going to do, especially at a $300,000 number. Nope.
Okay, so, let's see. So have we settled up with the county on all our stuff here so far this year, you know?
Yes.
All right.
Just really, are you sure it was 303 or was it 300 Broadway?
No, this was for the assumption of 303.
303 water.
Yes,
The guys,
yeah.
Um,
And that right there is part of the massive,
Yeah, discrepancy.
yes. All right.
what about the, let's see, what about the American Rescue Plan funds? Are those in here?
No, I am not, I was instructed to not put those in here until the project has been chosen and allocated, because you have to have an in and an out. You have to show where the revenue is coming in, and you have to show where the revenue is going out. And if I don't know where you guys are going to put it, I can't put the projected expenditure in the proper department. So that will be an amendment that will have to happen later on in the year, once you guys have allocated where you want that money.
Is that gonna come up soon? Because I know more money's gonna be coming in again.
We have the first payment, the second payment will be coming. We have until 2024 to spend anything, but yes, I anticipate, once we get through this budget, I would like in the next coming months for it to be on the commission agenda for discussion so that we can start doing it. I have to do the first report by the end of this month, which the report's simple, it's just gonna say we haven't picked any projects yet, nor spent any money. And then that buys us basically a year before I have to do any more reporting. So yes, I anticipate this summer, I'm hoping you guys will make a decision.
So when will that be brought to us so we can make a decision? Because I thought it was gonna go into all the infrastructure is what we agreed on.
It was never a vote on it, so I'm gonna
Right.
bring it to a commission agenda and let you vote on it.
So it doesn't sound like then we'll probably get anything done this year. I mean, we haven't put out bids, we haven't figured out what we want. I mean, if we
That's
were
it,
gonna do-
honestly, Lisa, that's a discussion for another day, it's not relevant to this budget right now.
Well,
because
it
it's not
kinda
built in.
is, because we've got to start putting stuff in here,
It's,
so whether we're gonna
you
do it.
can't, you can't put it in this until you picked a project, and then it's allocated to the proper budget. That is from Curtis. So it will come to a commission meeting, it will be on the agenda for you to decide where you want to spend the money, and then I will appropriate it.
Well, hopefully it'll be soon so that we can get that moving. All right, I'm done with that page. Next page.
Let me pause real quick, sorry, Lisa.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any other questions on this page before we move on?
The only question is, where in this, it's not, there's no revenue there, but is that under, whether we get into maintenance, is that where that maintenance is gonna be for the landfill?
Which line item?
No,
We have no
that's
maintenance?
we were just doing revenue.
Okay, but it'll be in here somewhere.
There's no expense in here for the landfill.
Are we gonna get any?
I explained to you last night, Bill, that I have reached out to Bob, that is in the attorney's hands at this point, because there's mixed opinions based on all of the entities involved in it. So again, not for tonight.
What other entities are involved with our dump?
People who used it, communities that participated in it. So it's in the attorney's hands at the moment.
Okay, but we own it by the county. County records, we own it.
I understand.
Okay, next page.
My understanding is, from what I remember from last year, is that this this planning, CED planning money, that was that raffle money, and I know they're gonna have another one this year, so are we gonna keep that or not keep that?
Yes, that is why I wanted to actually create, they needed to have their own line item because it needed to be basically earmarked for CED because the chamber did the fundraising for it. They split the money with that, and CED did not have their own budget. They just would come to you guys and ask for money, and then you guys would appropriate it through a different line item under city commission. Didn't really make any sense to run it through that way. It made sense to give them their own line item. And by also doing this, and I will say for the entire budget, one of the things that I would like proposed tonight, and I hope you're supportive of, because I've never not seen it done this way either. When you guys approve a budget, for instance, the planning money or this CED money, when you approve this budget, you've approved them their money. So if CED wants to go spend $1,000 out of this, they should not have to come back to a commission meeting to ask permission to spend $1,000. You've already approved them their budget, what the line item is for, and so that is their money to spend. So that is also the intent of this, is to finally give CED board, they have all these great ideas for the community, but they've had zero money to spend. It's kind of been really strange setup. So now they can spend money on their good ideas.
But even if we approve a budget, the stuff still has to come before the board again for final say. I mean, just because we approve this whole budget doesn't mean that everything in this budget gets done and we don't ever see
As
it.
long as it's under the $2,000 mark, then yes, it should. If you have approved a department or a committee money to spend, you've approved them to spend that. And then they reasonably are allowed, they can't go over their budget, they know what their budget is, and that's part of my job is to make sure that they're not going over it either. But unless it's over the $2,000 threshold, like what Mike or I or Jim or anybody has to bring to the commission, no, they should not have to bring it back to you guys. That, I mean, talk about a layer of bureaucracy. I mean, it slows them down by 2 months to be able to do anything. And I've never really seen it that way in place either. It really pigeonholes the committees from doing things.
Can I suggest we add that as a item of new business at our next city commission meeting where we can actually vote on it and discuss that issue? You know, at the same time.
Should it be with the May, you want it the May one with the budget?
I would.
Okay, we make a note of that.
Well, I did talk to a couple of attorneys and they said, you still have to go to the board. Even though you budget it, you still have to go to the board for approval.
I would, but we're not here to actually approve
No.
anything,
Right.
so I would
But I'm
just,
just,
yeah.
she was saying that
And we'll
they
run
don't
it
have to
through
come
Bob.
to
Yeah.
us.
I'll run it through Bob. But so page 2, that's what's on page 2, is basically the CED money and creating them their own line item.
But we're not giving them any money this year.
Yeah, they have money in there. They have that 63. The city isn't giving them any money because they're actually making their own now. And that we know that they'll get money in this year, but I can't estimate what it's gonna be because it's through the raffle through the chamber.
So you're not gonna put that certain amount in your budget that they already have?
It's carried over in the line item, just
No,
because
you're
the
going to-
requested is what I'm asking for. It's
You've
not
got
a bank
zero.
account.
You've got zero.
This isn't a balance sheet. The balance sheet would show that they have $6,300 in a bank account and it rolls over.
I understand.
I'm not allocating any more to them. That's what this is indicating.
Okay.
Any other questions for page 2? Okay, page 3.
Okay, first question is, why did the commission's pay drop $1,000?
Because we only do 1 meeting a month now instead of 2.
The $6,000 covers the $800 for each of us and the $1,200 for the mayor, so somebody's not gonna get paid. That comes to $6,000. That's our paychecks for the year.
I will verify it because I honestly, I don't do the payroll, so I didn't know how
You
that
have
works. but-
6 of us at 800 and 1 at 1,200.
Okay.
That comes to your 6,000.
Okay.
Just a point.
I'm used to it per meeting, not an allocated amount per
Yeah, we don't
person.
do per meeting.
I can change that. That's an easy one.
So the community promotion you took out of this, and did it go
Yes.
somewhere else?
No,
And printing, I'm concerned, because I know we have an election, we don't know what's gonna happen. That's usually for business cards. So you're not gonna allow anything for business cards this year?
with it being an election year, we have plenty of printing budget under the election section.
Yeah, but it's for the commission. So all I'm saying is it should be under the commission's budget.
Our business
But they're
cards.
business cards.
I'll figure it out.
Shouldn't have been around, shouldn't have, I think.
That was under supplies, or which line item were you on?
900.000.
Oh, printing, I see, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, we can always put it in supplies or something else. That's minimal. I can find a place to put that. I can put it under mine.
Okay, next, your thing, so you've got 77,000, are you splitting any of your wages? Oh, here's one thing, since we're gonna talk wages here. We need a new copy of this year's wage and benefit chart. This comes with the budget. We didn't get this one. This is how we can tell how many employees we have, what they're getting paid, what their benefits are. This should be updated so that if you are giving out raises and everything, then we can tell what it does, and that gives us all our figures here at the bottom.
I'll have to get to that. That's not a document that I have.
Yeah, because it comes in every budget. We started doing this, I think, when John Gaber was here. And we also need, since I'm on charts, the 5-year plan charts, the new ones. That's this big long one that we got last year. That also comes. It's the Buildings Capital Improvement Plan, 5-year. We should have that chart too.
That's me.
Okay.
Okay. All right, back to what we got here. All right, city manager, so is all your wages in this one fund now?
Mine are in the full-time, yeah.
Yeah. So you're not split anymore anywhere else?
No,
And so this, you're at 75 right now?
I'm at 75.
So you're getting a $2,000 raise?
I did a 2% raise in here for all employees, is what I figured in.
Okay.
And frankly, I don't know what I'm gonna ask for.
And the 32 for the
So in the part,
activity is just because it's up to March 31st.
right, and this one is skewed this year because there was some wages in there from when
Right,
Mike
from
was
when
doing
Mike
an
was at-
interim.
yep.
Yeah, so it's not a good indicator of one person because it had the lull and then Mike in there. And then the part-time wages under here is where we're putting the grant writing, so that's where that's at.
One thing I'd ask you, going through this, because I don't want to go through every one of them,
No.
but the Fica and Medicare, the calculations aren't quite right. Some of these are either way too high, or they're not even close. Some of them didn't even change, so I would ask if you could check on your Fica and Medicare columns to make sure those were calculated outright with the current percentages. Because a lot of them are not correct. Okay, the health insurance premium, are you doing the payout or not?
Yes, I don't accept I don't do the healthcare for her.
Okay, so the payout's 5,000, not 2,500.
I'll change it.
Clerk. Is the clerk, now she's at 65, did you figure in a raise for her?
She's at 62. So, yeah.
She's getting a $3,000 raise.
Well, no, 2% is what I figured in, but there are also some wages that come out of this for Michelle because she's a deputy clerk. So I had to figure those in as well. So we gave ourselves a buffer. These are not exact, you'll notice they're round numbers. We didn't go
I
exact.
think that's why if we had this, then I
I
can
didn't
figure
know
out.
about that.
Yeah.
I will attempt to put
Yeah.
that together, but from what I'll figure it out.
Okay, and then I see some that aren't rounded up. You get 50% in some of these counts. You might want to just round them up so that they don't. So let's see. What's this one? What's the contractual services?
Where? Under the clerk?
Yep,
We-
802. It went from 3 to 13,000.
Yes, so we built in this year to recodify our ordinances because they're horribly outdated. If we can't get around to it, we can't, but I wanted it built into the budget in case we could get to it this year because it really is important.
So that'd be
I
for
like
like a
that.
Wade trim or, yeah.
Yeah, you hire a company,
American Legal Publishing.
American Legal Publishing.
I know Elaine did that for us once.
It's been a long time from what I understood from Chris. So maybe she'd gone after it, but it hadn't been done. They're bad. They're pretty bad. It's important.
Well, toward the end of all of this, Wade and Trim was supposed to be finishing it up before you came.
Finishing up what? I'm sorry.
The codification of the ordinances.
I don't-
If my memory, it's my memory again, but I believe Elaine was just kind of picking away at them as she could. She never got to all of them, or even a good chunk of them. So I like that idea. I mean, you live and die by those things. You really need to have them right.
On American Legal Publishing also, and when I spoke to them last week, indicated that not only should we be updating them, I believe, every 3 to 5 years as a complete update, but we should also be supplementing, he said yearly. He was actually surprised that our last supplement, I believe, was 3 years, approximately 3 years out.
You can do it for 5 years and then you can say, well, they're okay the way they are and just adopt them again.
I mentioned to him about our supplements, and he said the last one, by the time that we do the next one, will be 3 years old, and he said that's not, he doesn't advise that at all.
No, because if
That's
you're waiting to
acceptable.
do all that stuff, your ordinances are way behind.
Right, exactly.
All right, the clerk continues on the next page, so I don't know if
Any-
anybody else has any on this one.
Okay, next page.
All right. The publishing. What was that for? Your ordinance changes?
Publishing with the Times Herald.
Just
Public
your ads?
hearings,
Yeah.
different things,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's like community outreach type of things.
Well, and she has to post certain things, public hearings have to go in the paper, yeah. We did the hiring, posting for positions, things like
So it's
that.
like
Okay,
publishing.
so you cut it from 2,000 to 700, but we've got 3 elections this year.
Because there's an election section, and that's where that goes. That doesn't go into the clerk. There's an election budget. And we cut it because we'd only even spent less than 500 this year, so.
But you also have your ordinances, you have other items besides elections also. Ordinances have to be posted, certain meetings have to be posted.
Right,
Okay, because publishing has gone up.
Elections was tripled under publishing from last year.
All right. Okay, the actuarial, were we doing a full year or a half year this year?
the actuarial will do,
It skips every other year.
they will do in June, they'll do Nyhart will give us our report.
But there's a full one they do and a half one they do. So the half one is the 3250, So if we're due for a full one, then you're gonna have to double that, is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
It's like 5,000 or something, or close to. This is like half of what it is for the actuarial. So that could be an increase there.
But if it's an annual budget, why wouldn't it be like 0 and then,
It's not the way they do it for the
6,500.
actuarial. They do a partial. I'll explain, it's in the pension stuff. But they do a half 1 year, full next year, half, full. That's just the way they set them up. Okay, so treasurers. Let's see.
And again, the wages are hiked here because we have Rachel's new salary, and then Anne Marie does a ton out of this line item. So her wages are figured into this as well. So
And a
that's,
portion of this also goes in water and sewer, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Anne Marie split between like 3 or 4 different places.
Well, both of them should be split for that one. All right, so we've got 2 people in here, and we've got the healthcare at 2,500. Is that gonna cover both? Are they both taking the healthcare?
There's a budget for the hospital on this side.
Or we'll revisit the healthcare just to make sure. There's one addition I want to make in this one that didn't make it into this because I didn't have the quote in time. Under contractual services for the treasurer, for the new budget, I would like to put in $3,000. I would like to contract with it's called KCI. They're the tax company that does all the printing and mailing of the tax bills to get it out of in-house. KCI is who the county uses as well. It's just, it helps with the workload significantly. 3,000, the reason it's at 3,000 is because the way it would hit, it's $2,100 to do per tax cycle. You pay for postage up front, and then you pay for the rest of the mailing after it goes out. But because of when the tax cycle is and our fiscal year is, it looks higher because of how it's gonna hit.
winter
But,
versus summer?
pardon?
Winter versus summer?
Yeah, and so that contract is in the commission packet for later this month for you guys to see. But I preliminarily wanted to add this in, but I didn't have the invoice before we sent this out. So I just want to note that.
Service charges. What was that for? Went through 14 to 120.
$1,400.
I don't fully remember. But we definitely lowered it because it's not something that, there was a reason.
Can you,
I'll verify.
yeah, find out what that one's for? Last one on this one is the software maintenance agreement. You went from 6,000 to 3,300. BSA, that's for the BSA. So it's gonna cost us more than 3,300.
It wasn't spread properly in the past, and so we just spread it amongst the departments better. So much wasn't hitting one department, but it's spread throughout the entire budget.
But each department has their own BSNA software.
Yep.
So are you putting part of this somewhere else?
Yes, it's spread between all of the different departments. Everybody has different software maintenance agreements to spread it. It just helps to do it that way. That way you're not stressing one individual budget. But it's all accounted for. It was just spread better.
So even though we're gonna have to pay a yearly fee, you're spreading it out somewhere else?
Yes,
Water, sewer?
everywhere. Yes, everywhere. Every department that uses the BSNA system.
Okay.
You know how many licenses we have with BSNA? Because each computer has to have a license to use it.
Pardon?
Each one has, they have to do it this, and they have to have a user's license.
Yeah, we have a yeah, I don't remember how many modules we have for everything, but yeah. But this, we do pay a lot for it, but I mean, it's worth it. We just spread it out a little bit more evenly is all.
All right.
We're not decreasing any of our services.
And you're building in a raise for the new treasurer, for the 2 people?
I did it across the board.
2% though, we're still at 2%.
So as an example, back to the software thing, if you look under assessor and equalization, that went up from 3,100 to 53. So it's just spreading the SNA out.
Theirs was a little bit more expensive because of the tax component, so yes.
Okay, anything else for this page? Moving on.
The assessor, the contractual services, we have a contract, so is that her latest rate for the contract, because I know it went up?
Yeah,
So it says it's the same though.
yeah, there's no change this year, the contract's not up. I believe it's up next year, I think it was 2020, I don't know, I gotta look, but it's not this year.
I thought we
It was
just renewed
2020.
theirs.
4, what?
I thought we just renewed that not too long ago.
I think it's
You pulled it.
Pardon?
You pulled the contract.
Yeah, and as I want to say, it was like a 3-year contract, so this number is correct. In the next section, in elections, you'll see that, yes, the numbers are brought up to reflect that there will be 1 election, school election this fiscal, and there'll be 2 more in the next. So Chris and Shannon did up their numbers in the election section to make sure that that would be adequate.
We did budget for the potential of a May election next year as well, because we don't know if we're gonna have one or not.
Okay, so did you figure in the stipend that you get for each election?
That is figured in here, don't we?
Yes.
$750 per election.
Mm.
I know it's
Probably wages.
Yeah, yeah, because 2 for, 1 for this year and 2 for next year.
I noticed that the pension plan and the OPEB, nothing changed on those. I know some of that stuff's gotta go up, but
Help yourself.
buildings and grounds. Knock down full-time and increase part-time.
Correct.
We knocked down the full-time because of the fact we're done moving in here. We used the DPW to move everything and all the work over here and everything else. So that money to be done, we're back down to our normal 6,000 for all the buildings.
Okay,
The maintenance, the part-time is maintenance also, crash cut and everything else for all the buildings.
that one, pension plan and the OPEB jump. Contractual services, is that the Comcast stuff? The 36,000?
That would be in-house up here.
Wait, sorry, Mike, what?
That would be something, I don't do that budget, that part of it for up here. I'm in bits and pieces of it.
Yes.
I know. Do you
Yeah.
have any idea if that's,
Yes, that's gonna have your Comcast in there. I believe that's gonna have our printer agreements in there. That's gonna have any contractual services that deal with this office. Our securities in there,
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. One of the things that you'll notice as you start going through here too, you'll notice any of the Semcos, natural gas, things like that, we've increased all of those by a little bit because obviously we all know what's happening in our own houses. Those bills are going up, so we did inflate those numbers a little bit to reflect the economy right now.
All right. There's gonna be no capital outlay or anything for equipment in that fund?
No, we rolled back because of the overspending last year.
I'm just looking at some of the footnotes.
And I wanna speak to the footnotes really quick. You will see that we removed them, with the exception of the ones that specify like a transfer from a certain account into a certain account. A lot of that happens in your street funds and stuff. So we removed the footnotes for a reason. What we noticed, which attributed to the overspending in the last budget, is the footnotes would have numbers in them. For instance, Mike would put his project list together, come in to the powers that be, and say, this is what I want to be approved for my projects next year. So let's say Mike came in and said, I've got $90,000 that I want to spend on these different projects, and they were listed out, kayak launch, whatever, marina, whatever. Those numbers did not add up to the expenditure lineup on top of it. So he was under the impression that those numbers were approved to go and spend because they were included in these footnotes, but those footnotes did not add up to the expenditure. So you had $10,000 in the expenditure line, and he had $90,000 worth of projects. You're $80,000 in the hole. So I don't know why it was done that way, but it was. And so we have removed those to eliminate that from happening again. And the only ones you'll see left in here are truly, they're a dictation of, you know, these are where your money transfers come from.
But the footnotes are to help us understand what you're spending money on. I mean, that's why I need the footnotes. I mean, I'm looking at this one from last year. We had building repairs that had a fee, we had Broadway repairs that had something in it. So where is all that going then?
So all of those projects come before you for approval when he has to do them anyway. So you know what projects are going on in town because he has to come, those projects are never gonna be under $2,000. You will always know when he's coming to you saying,
But where are they in the budget?
They're built into the budget, so they'll be in your capital outlay account, in your capital land improvement. That's how it's done. That's where the expenditure should be. That was the problem, is they weren't putting the number in the expenditure. They were just putting it in the footnotes. So now we have the expenditure amount in the correct line item, and Mike knows that, okay, if I'm going to do a water tower repair, it comes out of this line item. I have $80,000 in it. It's going to cost me $20,000. I got $60,000 left.
But we don't know, and neither does the public when they look at a budget.
That's not how a budget works, though. That's not how a budget works, Lisa. Your budget is
I'm
not
gonna
supposed
disagree
to
with
be
you.
an itemized list of all of your projects. That is a different thing. This is your city budget.
You're wrong. Even when
No.
Mary Ellen was here, Mary Ellen always gave us a sheet in each section which told us what kind of projects. You remember, Mary Ellen did it too, what projects we did. I can't approve a budget if I see 50,000 here and I don't know what you're spending the 50,000 on. I want to know what the projects are. I don't want to wait till the project shows up on my door some other day. I need to know when we're doing this particular budget, I need to know what this money is being spent for. I need to know if it's a road project, if it's we're putting a roof on something, and that's what these notes were for. This one here, it had the windows for this building and how much we had to spend on it. At least I knew what was going on. Now, I get a figure, like land and building repairs, you got $50,000 and I have no idea where we're spending that on.
So those are the projects that Mike will come to us and say, I need this for X, and this is what the line item it's coming out of. But we did not build in any major capital improvement projects. The only thing that we have in there right now is to finish the kayak launch, the marina, which is already your commitment, and then we put money in basically as a pad, just in case. A window breaks, something happens. We did not build in projects this year because we didn't want to dip into the fund balance. So when there are projects to do, Mike will let us know. We're not,
But then I don't know if it's in the budget or not.
yes,
No, I
because
don't.
he can't spend money that isn't allocated.
I understand
So if he
that,
comes
but-
to you and says, I have $60,000 in my budget and I want to spend 20 on this, do you have money in your budget? Yes, I do, and you spend it on that. What I'm telling you is we didn't budget for projects, so that money is there for Mike to use if something comes up.
But you just told me you didn't budget for projects, so then that 50,000.
We have to leave ourselves a cushion in case something happens, but no, we don't have an arm length of projects this year. We just don't.
I have to agree that this shouldn't be a project list. That's what a capital improvement plan is for.
But we don't have that
This-
either.
This should just have a total number of what you're planning on spending, and that this is the forum to ask questions if you want to know what the money is planned for. If they're, beyond, other than a cushion per se.
The city has never done their budgets that way. I've been coming to these meetings for over 20 years, and it's always been listed in there so that you knew and the public knows. Because, see, the public has to take this budget mix. I mean, it's bad enough for us to try to figure this stuff out, the way it's split between this account and that account and the money in here. But then you got to give this and let the public look at it. And how are they supposed to know what we're doing when we don't list it? Last year, we had everything in here listed. These aren't random figures. These are the figures that we used for the stuff here. Building repairs, here's Broadway repairs, landscaping.
And we don't have
Windows.
any of that this year.
I understand that, but all I'm saying is you put 50,000 in there, but then you're saying, well, we're gonna use it for something, but you're not telling me what you're gonna use it for. I guess I don't do a budget that way. If I'm gonna do my budget at home, and I think I'm gonna purchase something, then I'm gonna build that into my budget right away so that I know I'm gonna have the money. But I know what that is. In this, I just see building repairs at $50,000 and I don't know what building we're repairing. What's gonna cost us $50,000?
Ali, isn't that part of the tear down for the, where, that's in there?
No,
No?
not that,
So,
no.
but it's
But there's
difficult for me
nothing-
to do this budget when I don't know what we're spending this money on. I mean, and is the water in here, is this the unmetered water?
Yeah.
Okay. And activity, have we done budget amendment or resolutions for moving the money for this?
No, you'll see that in May.
All right, because normally in the activity they put a 0 in now. All right, I guess I'm just gonna put a question mark, and we don't know what we're spending this money on, so. Footnotes were just a good thing for us and the public to be more transparent with the budget so they can understand what we're doing with the money. That doesn't mean we're gonna spend the money. That
But
doesn't mean
I
that
don't wanna-
project's gonna go to fruition.
I don't want to make things up that I don't know we're going to spend it on, Lisa. Mike will come to us if there is, or I will come to you and say, this is what we want to spend the money on. I wouldn't come to you if there wasn't money in the budget to spend, but there's nothing hidden. If there's a project, it's going to come before this commission. But I'm not going to make things up to put it in a footnote and then not do them. That doesn't make any sense. This is not an itemized grocery list. It is your expenditures and your revenues. That is what this is, by department and
But
GL
we should
number.
be planning on projects. I mean, we've got no road plans, we've got no, we're gonna do a marina. I don't see that in here. except
That
for
is in
money-
there.
Well, the revenues are in here.
The kayak launch and the marina project figures are figured in here because the commitment is already made.
So.
After
where'd
the
you put it?
amount of money that was dipped into this fiscal year, I did not feel comfortable doing a budget that was not a balanced budget this year. You dipped more than $200,000 into your general fund balance from this fiscal year. I did not want to touch a penny of that. So yes, you have a very dry budget this year.
But even the kayak launch and stuff, if you look through here, it's trying to find this stuff.
It's in Parks and Rec.
We'll get there. All right, let's see if I get anything else. Those were for 260. So, okay, so the building repairs 50,000, you can't tell me what that's for. we're just putting it in there to have it in there. Correct? All right, that's all I think I have on that.
Anyone else for this page?
I have a question. Mike, is this for unexpected repairs or what?
There is money built in there for, repairs here, repairs at 300 Broadway, repairs at the Guy Center if needed.
That we don't know about
We
yet?
don't know.
That's what, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's what that budget,
The budget
anybody
for
would
the-
budget for
Right.
contingency, that's what, yeah, that's why you put a little money
And I
away.
will say, the one thing I can say that's in there is about $4,000 of it is gonna be used to finish the bathroom up front that hasn't been used. So, I mean, those are the types of projects. It's the, we don't know. It's the only thing I know is the bathroom. It's, yeah.
Okay, next page.
So the attorney, that's scary stuff there for the attorney, I keep dropping back down.
Well, we're hoping to have a normal year.
Okay, resources, human resources, all right. So we've got the defined pension plan. Did you get the Neinhardt letter on what they anticipate us to have to put in? They send us a letter every year.
Yeah, we get the letter in June. Isn't that the one we get in June? I don't get anything. The only report I get, isn't that one?
I think Mary Ellen did this one, and that's the 32,000 a month, is that what we're talking about?
Oh.
Going into the defined pension plan? Is that what you're?
It's the total, well, it's one of the amounts. There's more
Correct, yeah.
line items in here that go into that amount, but Neinhardt has to tell us basically what they think. I think I had a- Here. Here's one of these. Line.
Part of the actuary, that's right. Oh, it's part of the actuary, okay.
Yeah, I got that farther in, so I guess we can talk about that. I just want to make sure that we're basing it based on the actuarials and we're making sure that that amount is correct in both the OPEB and the contribution. So property vehicle liability insurance, I see that dropped.
Yes.
Yeah.
Special project, so here's where our project should be. So why did we take out hydrant usage? Does that move somewhere else?
So, yeah. We need to look into this a little bit more. This one is kind of a mystery, and I will, we don't understand really.
Does anybody know what it is?
I've been asking this question for
Yes.
years, what is it?
And
Nobody can give me an
there's
answer.
departments where it has it listed and the assumption of the 10,000 is there, and then we didn't actually get we didn't get the money. So it was just, it looked like there was an expenditure and there looked like there was revenue for it, but nothing ever really happens in the line item. So we zeroed them out because there's no activity in them.
Well, it shows activity.
It's a journal entry, so that's why we're
Yeah.
asking. Does anybody know what it is? What is?
I think these are again done by a resolution, so you'd have to pull the resolution.
No, there's no resolution indicating we've gone through the book.
Yeah.
So that one we're not 100% sure on. So we zeroed it out instead of making the assumptions.
Unless, I mean, if you can lead us, we'll re-look at the resolutions again.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a few of these that get a resolution.
Yeah, we've got the book. Shannon's been preparing them all for the May meeting. So those will be ready with all the transfers and stuff. But this one, we looked high and low for anything referencing this. And
Yeah, I know there is,
There's nothing.
so I'll see if I can find
So,
it. But I think that
the
one-
big number in this one, of course, obviously is the 200, and that all has to do with finishing up the marina.
What is the total cost? Because we never saw the appraisal that came back from the state.
I've never seen the appraisal that I'm aware
The
of.
city got one. The
I
state did an
can only work
appraisal
with what I've
sometime.
got. And I have the numbers of what it's gonna cost the city to finalize everything that was agreed on in the original contracts that you guys had done, but, so this is just a lump, because even though it's not gonna actually cost the city this much money, we are gonna expense it. It will come in through revenue, but it has to go out someplace. So I wanted to, make sure I indicated what we thought was gonna go out, but we will be getting grant money to supplement a big portion of this.
What's our percentage of that project?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's not $200,000.
So we had 144.5 already set up in the last budget, so we didn't use that money.
No, nothing was done, and so more is gonna, instead of it being spread out between 2 fiscal years, it's all gonna hammer down on this one, and everything's gonna happen probably in the fall to the end of the year. So both of the land acquisitions are gonna happen, the house piece and the vacant lot piece, instead of it being split. But
What's the contractual services there? You got up above that?
That is for tree services around town. Like take down trees or anything else I need for contractual services.
Okay. All right, so the last one is this one, the interfund transfers out. So that changed, so.
That's,
That's another one of those
yeah,
resolutions.
that's my crack seal money that they transfer from.
Yeah, so we had figures in for that last year with notes, which that helped right here. We had 5,000 for one major, 5,000 for local, and 25,000 for the cemetery. Those are footnotes, and those are very helpful. I
Yeah.
don't have those here now, so I don't know, you cut it from 35,000 to 25,000, and I don't know what are you moving to what? So it's 5, 5, and 15 now?
the cemetery will be in the cemetery.
But this
This one
transfers to the
is,
cemetery.
yeah, you'll see it in the revenue section for the cemetery, what came into the cemetery. We did this based off of, the number was in the resolution someplace, because it was 25 in one place and then it was changed to 35. But I believe that the number was in the resolution as 25. So that's why we took it back down to the 25 instead of the 35.
You do see the amount later on when you get to the revenue
Yeah,
piece of the cemetery.
Yeah.
But what I'm asking though, is this 25,000 is supposed to be split. And if you go into the cemetery fund, the whole 25 is there. So that's not correct. If we're putting 5 in one, 5 in major, 5 in local, and 15 in cemetery, then the cemetery one is incorrect.
The cemetery got the 25.
So the
But all you're getting is 25.
The other two, is the other two still scheduled to
Is
do?
that what the two others?
Because there's a couple of these.
What's your questioning? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm saying, last year we had 5, 5, and 25. And 25. This year, since we only have 25, if you do 5, 5, you only got 15 left.
Looks,
What I'm,
Look,
again,
it-
25 went to cemetery, what we're missing is the 2 5s, I guess.
Right.
No, the 2 5s are in there also.
Oh, they are?
No, they're not.
We'll
No,
have to
we
look at
No,
didn't
they're not.
do them yet. There's
they're
a-
out.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they are out, but they should be. So that's the issue there, that the whole 25 went into cemetery.
And it's just, there's another road one in here, and I'm almost positive, it's either the millage or the road one, that it has yet to have another cycle of it done. So it wasn't all done in one lump. So we can definitely, though, the other 5s will be done. We will put the other 5s where they need to go when we do the next, because there is another fund transfer in here that
Yes.
wasn't done, it was done in phases.
I understand that, but this one here, if you look at everything, it's not done right. That's all I'm saying. I was gonna try to wait till I got to that part and then come back to it, because I had it marked up farther in. But the whole 25 went into the cemetery.
Yes, it did. The other 2 5s will get done.
So then why are they listed here?
Because it's in the footnote saying that we have to do it.
I understand that, but are you gonna put the other 5s in the other 2 spots?
Yes,
major
that's
and
what I
local?
just said, yes.
All right. Okay, police department.
Good evening. So the biggest thing, all my line items pretty much stay status quo, except you'll see the full-time and the part-time wages. Back in 2008, under our old chief, Don Tillery, he started a part-time officer program where there were more officers than there were jobs. So we had the cream of the crop to pick from. Decent people came in, worked hard for us. Well, now we're at a point where I have only 2 part-timers on staff. Nobody wants to work part-time anymore. So what I'm proposing is I want to eliminate my part-time program altogether and hire 2 full-time. With that 2 full-time, one of them, I currently have a signed contract on my desk that Holly and I, we've discussed in the past that I want to present to you probably in May or June. That was signed by the superintendent of the school district to provide a school resource officer into our schools. What that contract says is they will provide half of the wages for one of those full-time. So technically, in layman's terms, I'm asking for 1.5 full-time because the school district is paying for the other half of the 1 full-timer. So that is pretty much the nuts and bolts of my budget. That's the biggest thing I'm asking for.
Do you know what St. Clair's gonna do?
I have no idea what St. Clair's going to do.
My understanding is we were gonna go with the sheriff's department.
Lisa, I talked to Dave Maru, who is leaving us as the assistant and going to St. Clair High School as the principal. He doesn't have any idea what they're doing. Dave and I are good friends. We have talked about this for several years. This finally came to fruition. They came to me, we met about it. I met with Suzanne Sibula. Everybody was in favor of it. Holly and I met, and the signed contract is there. Just needs Holly's signature after your guys' approval, and we can move forward with that. But this is something that's been talked for several years. It's finally gonna happen, hopefully, and we can move forward. But again, I don't know what St. Clair's gonna do.
And I do know Clay Township has been doing that for a few years, and they have remarkable success with it, with having that officer in the schools.
We did it years ago.
Yeah.
You remember?
I do. Yeah, it's a very valuable asset. A lot of crimes actually get solved because of the information we can get from the students. Yeah, it's great.
Nowadays,
What's that?
I think just nowadays too, with all of the craziness that's happening in schools, I think there's peace of mind for parents. I think that it's a great thing for the community. It's a great thing for them to see us in there. You know, if we can afford to do it, we should do it.
Okay, so here's a few questions, not so much about that. I mean, I
Yes.
don't have a problem, because I know a long time ago, we had 6 guys full-time
Yes.
at one time.
When I first started here, we actually had 10.
Yeah,
But and the budget was, I think, maybe 1.2 million,
yeah,
and I'm certainly not asking for that.
I know. And it cut down, because some people left and, you know. and-
Yep.
Okay, so a couple questions for, not necessarily for you. Please recalculate your Fica and Medicare, because that's off. That's another one.
We did not have the department head to do that because I didn't think it was their job to.
Well, I'm
We're
not
handling that.
asking him, I'm asking you
Yeah,
guys.
it needs to be done in our
The
office.
FICA and the Medicare needs to be looked at for every department. Okay. Cash in lieu of benefits, because Jim doesn't know if he hires people if they're gonna need insurance or not, how come we're only giving them 12, we cut it from 24? We could get in trouble with that.
Currently, under the old, why there's 24 on there is at one point we did have 4 officers taking buyouts.
Okay.
Now we only have the 2, so the 12 was left alone.
But you don't know when you hire these 2 new guys whether they're gonna need it or not.
I have no idea.
So you might wanna think about budgeting for that just in case. If we don't use it, great, but it should at least be there in the event we do, so we don't go in the hole on that one. Let's see. Next page here. So the health insurance premiums, yeah, they only went from 25 to 35. clothing allowance, if we're adding 2 guys, you're gonna need more than that?
No, the clothing allowance is different than the clothing. The clothing allowance is what we give the guys contractually for cleaning and maintenance.
Okay. And the retired, the OPEB, if you add 2 guys, do we have to not add money for that?
I have no idea.
I think you have to add some money for each of them. So that needs to be looked at. And I know you're not gonna know all that either, but, life insurance too did increase. If you have 2 new guys, we don't know again.
Yep,
It's all these little things.
Yeah, those were the line items that, Holly and I discussed that was gonna get filled in.
And firearm supplies, you got enough? Because I know that's
Yep,
been-
I got enough. Yeah, we stockpiled this year. Fortunately, we found a company in Ohio when ammo shortage was around that. Gave us a pretty good deal under the state contract bid for 60 cents a round or something,
Wow.
where it's very cheap. So
Oh, yeah.
we stocked up with the money that we had, so I don't need to buy any next year, I hope.
How about your, you got enough for, range time?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, we've got plenty in there.
So your clothing allowance, even though you're hiring 2, went from 6 to 4.
Yep, because that will just be to supply the 2 new full-timers.
And your capital outlay, what are you getting for your 10.5?
The 10.5, I'm pretty sure we're probably underestimated the one, but the one project we want to do is we still have fluorescent lights over at our department. So we want to upgrade to the LEDs to save some cost on DTE. But the other project that we probably underestimated is to redo the carpet. That carpet's been there since the inaugural hearing in 2008. So it's pretty dirty, it's pretty torn, you can see it's pretty worn. So I estimated about $5,500 for that, and after doing some further research, it's probably low. So,
Okay, so, your car is no longer with us.
nope, my car's on this. So I'll explain that car. So that car was purchased in 2008 or 9 under the Stone Garden grant. So in order for us to sell that, we need to get approval from the state to do it, because it was bought under grant monies. So that is what we're currently waiting on in order to get rid of that. And why that is sitting there is my front end is bad, my water pump is bad, transmissions, and it was just gonna cost me about $4,000 or $5,000. And it's one of those things where we're continually putting a Band-Aid on it. So I'm like, I gotta just take it off the road. So currently, I only have the 3 patrol cars. One, I'm driving the truck, and then the other 2 Ford Explorers,
So if you get a couple more guys and you get the school liaison, you're gonna need another vehicle.
probably. I asked for it, but we cut it, yeah.
We decided that if it was the car or it was the people this year.
Well,
And if he's running a day and a night, he has 2 vehicles, and then the truck is the backup, and they'll have to take care of it until we can get one in the next budget. There's not money to do it this year.
okay, so I'm gonna disagree on that, because first off, we bought a lot of big pieces of equipment, and no offense to you, Mike. We bought a lot of good equipment for other departments, and this one has been lacking, and we need to keep him up, because he's, I'm the first one that always breaks out what you buy.
Yep.
But there's lease agreements, we had that one-to-one time where you could lease and then buy it, it was like $1 or something.
Yeah, that was when we bought the 2 Chargers originally, I think
Yeah.
around 2012. We bought them both as a package, paid annual rate for the lease, and then at the end, we bought them both for $1.
Yeah, I mean, there's gotta be some deals out there.
We've reached out, like last year's budget, we reached out to GM and Ford and Chrysler, and they all offer that program. Where it's a lease program, it's like 11,000, 12,000, depending on what kind of vehicle you want, you pay a yearly fee for it, so there are programs out there for that.
Yeah, and I don't think that's an exorbitant amount to try to put in there for even this budget. To keep these departments running, they gotta have the vehicles. I mean, I'm for getting the full-time, because the part-time's been a revolving door, and it just costs us way too much money.
Yes. I
So
would
this
agree.
stabilizes that, but the car's gonna be the next thing, and if he can get a good deal on a lease and it's less than 20 grand, I don't see why we're not helping him out and getting it in there. I mean, that's not gonna break the budget.
Yeah, well, I was trying to have a balanced budget. If you add a car in here, it is not.
Well, there's a lot of things that are gonna change, so
Well, my goal was to be in the black at the end, and I negotiated with Jim to give him guys over a car this year. If you want to change it up, that's up to you. I did my job with it.
I just think that the department is lacking. We haven't gotten anything in a long time, and it's lacking, and I think it's time, if we're gonna add a couple guys and stuff, that we need to start taking care of it. I mean, police protection in this town needs to be handled all the time, and he's gotta have vehicles to do it. So I don't see that small amount is gonna break the bank there. We can find that money somewhere, and we've done this before with other budgets. You know, we've added things, taken things away, that's part of the process, but I just think it's important that we make sure that we're taking care of all departments. And we've kind of taken care of one. We bought some hefty equipment. You think about the Camel, the sweeper, we bought trucks, we bought tractors, mowers. What have we got? When's the last time we bought the truck? It's been a couple of years.
2 years.
And then, well, how long for those other two vehicles?
It was a year before and then a year before that.
Yeah, so it's been a long time. So, and he's kept his budget in line. I just think that's something that, geez, I mean, if he can get deals through the state, because those are always good deals for us through the state, that we ought to be looking at that to make sure he's got what he needs to do the job. And I just don't think it's gonna break the bank. So I would recommend that we add some type of car, or let Jim go out and see what he can do, or what he can come up with as far as the car. I would suggest that we at least have him look at it to see what he can come up with at a cost and bring that back to us. I don't know about anybody else, I just, you know, we gotta keep after this stuff. If we don't do something this year, then we're gonna be, what is your, don't you have a sheet on when your cars are,
Like that,
yeah,
yeah. Next year's budget, I have to buy one for sure.
yeah.
Because
So-
my one,
And that was the plan, when we talked about this, that was the plan. And if they're running one-man shifts anyway, if you have another car and it's just sitting in the parking lot, you know, what is that necessary for this year? If we knew that we could, that is our goal for next year, is the vehicles.
But you have to worry about breakdowns with his vehicles. And then you got the school liaison, that's during the day. So you're gonna have a need for the vehicle, and it's not gonna go to waste. So I still think that let's see if he can bring us something at a reasonable cost, and see what we can do to put it in the budget. I don't think that's ridiculous to ask, even though he's asking for these other two officers. That's just helping us in the long run, because we're paying too much in the revolving door for these part-timers. So adding a car, if it's a reasonable amount, is not gonna kill us.
I'll do some research for you.
Thanks, John.
Anything else for the police?
No, but can we take a 5-minute break?
Yes. Let's see, we need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Make a motion to take a 10-minute recess.
And give the time.
Support at
All in favor?
7:24.
Aye.
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 Carried. Okay, we're back in session. I think we left off at what, fire?
So we're,
7:35 PM.
I don't know what you guys want to, that's
Correct.
just said, it's per call. All the information was provided to the city, as far as what the budget is. And I think the budget only went up by $800 or something.
Yep, so that's the
Wasn't
new
much.
contract amount.
So I'm moving on to inspection. All right, so are we gonna continue with, no, are we gonna talk about the fee schedule at the end of this? That you gave us?
I would hope so.
Okay. Because I'm still concerned that we're paying way too much in fees to the building official. He gets 75% of the fees, plus he gets $38 an hour. Bill, to most communities, you don't get the fees, correct?
No.
So why are we still doing it? I mean, that's a lot of money.
The only thing I can speak to with this, because obviously Tracy was hired and his contract was decided on by this commission prior to me arriving here. So I don't know how the negotiations went on the front end for his pay. But I do recall multiple conversations about how difficult that it was and is to get building officials, code enforcers, any of those type of workforce. And I know I've heard Bill say it too. It's a hard profession to fill. So when you have one that is accountable and does his job and does it well and knows the rules, I mean, I don't know that we have, I don't want to say we don't have options, but we don't have a lot of options. And you guys approved his contract at what he makes, so we've just budgeted for
I didn't
it.
vote for it, but anyway.
Well, I was gonna say, Tracy is also building official for East China, right?
And Algonac.
Algonac, so can we,
And Casco.
Yeah.
okay, and, you know, would there be
And
an
I do
opportunity
4
to
units
compare?
part-time. So,
Yeah.
And he doesn't get fees. I mean, most places don't, I don't think the other communities give fees either. I think we're
I'll
probably
check
one of
his
the few.
contract on the other ones, Brian.
I mean, that's something that really needs to be looked at.
The question is, when is his contract up also?
And that's what I have to see. I'm
Yeah.
not certain when you guys had
He's
originally.
probably got the same open-ended contract. I don't think there was any time frame. So you'd have to just decide whether you want to renegotiate your contract or not.
Right, and I can look at that. That's an easy one to look at.
So, so we got full-time in there, I mean, so we got part of that in there. Is part of that Anne Marie also, does she does
Yes.
stuff for the building department?
Yes, she does.
And then is most of Tracy's under the contractual?
Yes,
And then the code guy is a
Part-time.
part-timer?
correct.
Okay, and he's gone down, so you don't, how many hours a week is he working?
He's 20 a pay period. So he's 25 weekly, so 10 a week. I would like him to go higher, but again, his needs to be self-funded. And that's part of what I'm trying to do with the fee schedule is a little bit, when especially with blight, because that's what he deals with the most, I want him submitting blight tickets to people when they're not doing what they need to be doing, and then that helps feed for him to be paid, so we can give him more hours.
Okay.
So,
can you also be the inspect your rentals?
again, we have to address that in a bigger picture, but I do think, Bill, yes, we need to have some sort of rental program here, but it's a whole program we have to make sure is established, it's set up right, we have somebody to do it, we have the funding in place, but I do think we need something here, because we have a lot of them.
In New Baltimore, everybody's part-time, everybody. And the code enforcement, the plumbing, mechanical, electrical, building, and the rental units are all done by separate people, part-time. They're all going to part-time, the cities.
I mean, we had it going for a while when Susan was here. She was starting to do some of the rental inspections and that, and then it just fell from there. Of course, she was full-time.
She was full-time, so that's why that was put on.
That
And
might have
then
been
when she
why.
left and we went to Tracy, it all went to heck. But, I mean, I'm getting a lot of complaints from people that are renters in the town that they're having issues with their landlords and we're not able to help them, which we should be.
Well, that depends. I mean, depending on what the issue is, it's gonna be a civil matter between them and their landlord, not the city involvement.
Well, some of
If
it though
it's-
is inspection because the building itself has code violations.
And that could be, but it's a bigger picture, for
So
sure.
it's something that definitely needs to be looked at because I do get a number of complaints from people on that one. All right, I think that's all let's see, do I get anything in there?
I mean, I have to agree here with Lisa. I mean, it is something we need to address. Maybe, I know the next couple meetings are probably gonna be pretty full, but maybe later on this, certainly before the end of the calendar year, maybe,
Yes.
June, July, August, somewhere in there, we can actually, in a regular commission meeting, sit down and look at the meat of it.
Yep, I agree.
Agreed.
All right, that's it on that page.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on.
All right, general maintenance. So, wages jumped. Small amount, is that just raises?
Well, that's, yeah, the 2% raise is built in there.
Do you guys have a wage opener this year? In your contract?
Yes.
Yes.
We have one in the PD also this year?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't really know what's gonna happen with that.
I budget for what I can budget for now, not what is an unknown.
Well, yes, but I mean, if we don't, I mean, they have an option to go to arbitration, we definitely don't wanna go there because that'll cost us more. So, the next one is cash in lieu of benefits, that's zeroed out, so you have nobody that's gonna be taking any, payouts for not taking insurance?
We didn't have any this year, so
Nothing this year. Do you have anybody?
we had no
Yeah.
employees do it this year.
Nobody, well, the payment ain't till what, July?
Is that, yeah.
This is for them not to take it though.
Right, I got 3 that does not take it.
There's 3 not taking it?
Yeah.
Well, then, that's 5 a piece.
Did they do it in the past?
Yeah, Aaron's been doing it.
Or is it coming out of somewhere else?
That's what I'm wondering, because
We're gonna find out here when we go through this. I
Yeah,
think
make
it
sure
is.
on-
we'll have to look into that, Mike, and make sure.
I think it is, comes out someplace else here.
Yeah, because that concerns me
Or
there.
get overheard. It didn't get taken.
It could have been that.
Or get errored.
And I don't see any increase in health insurance, which we all know every year health insurance increases.
Actually, so that's one of the things too I'm working on. I've been going through the Blue Cross Blue Shield contract, and I'm working with our reps right now. Because the city is now has a much younger employee group than it did one of the last times that it was, they did basically, I think they called it a census on our employees. The ages were much higher. So Dennis is running the new census evaluation for me and actually hoping to give us either no increase because there is an increase, but bring, we get a decrease because of the age, and he's hoping that we don't get hit. So we're working on that right now.
How soon do you think you'll have that? Before the budget's approved?
I know, I'm trying. I met with him 2 weeks ago.
All right, and your fuel increases, you think that'll be sufficient?
Yep, I tagged a few in there.
All right. So your electric, you don't think is gonna go up, or your, doesn't look like it probably would, you're only at, well, you're 38,
No, I should be fine.
and your natural gas only pumps up 500. Equipment and repairs, you're jumping to 13.
Oh, yeah.
Is that for mowers and trucks
That's
and
all,
whatever
that's
else?
all my backhoes and everything else.
And then you have vehicle repairs and maintenance
That's
also.
for all my plow trucks, all my 1-tons, all my pickup trucks.
Okay.
So road legal versus not, or not
Yes.
road legal versus road legal.
Yep.
All right, the last thing is street lighting. Why did we jump so much since we put in all the LEDs?
Because right after we put them in, they raised the rates.
That much though, it's an 18% increase.
I couldn't tell you.
I
It's,
mean, that's an awful big jump there. I kind of wonder on that one. Especially since our projected activity is 72. That looks a little bit more comfortable than 85. So that's an awful big increase, 18%. I don't think they jumped anything that much. And that's all I have on that one.
Anyone else for that sheet? Okay.
All right, next one, rubbish collection. So how'd you get that figure?
We increased it based on
Fuel surcharge.
Yeah, fuel surcharge, thank you.
Okay, but if we look at page 1, it's 320, usually that same number is the number that we reflect here in reference. Last year it was 308 there, it's 308 here. So if this is 320 here, it should be 320 here. On
We
page
just need to
1.
raise our rate.
Yep.
We need to raise our rate, that's all.
So that figure will be changed?
Yes.
Planning, they're getting $2,000 for supplies, what's that for?
Are you skipping the other two? Did you get with the other three?
I didn't have anything in watershed or the safety, no.
Okay,
Nope, jump to planning.
okay.
Pass you.
701,
What's the question? I'm sorry, I was writing.
$2,000
Supplies,
added
planning,
for
what's that
planning.
for, the 2,000 from planning?
Printing, any things, little things that they decide to do. I know one of the comments that they want some big maps. There's just been some things that they've asked for, so I wanted to give them a supply budget so that they could have them.
And professional services?
That is, one I know of, they're going to be contracting with Wade Trim for the zoning map redo.
Why are we using Wade Trim when we can use PCE?
Because PCE is for our engineering, infrastructure, roads, things like that. Wade Trim is our planner per contract.
They can also do planning, PCE can do planning,
I
they can
don't
do
want
grants.
PCE to do plan, I don't want PCE
Well,
to do
they're
it.
much more affordable, I mean, that's what we went with them for, is to get away from Wade Trim, because Wade Trim is so expensive.
It's $1,200. It's only $1,200 to redo your zoning map, and
You got
that is their
10,000.
specialty.
But you got 10,000 listed.
Yep, I do, because there may be some other things that they want to do this year. They've really been they're a very strong board, they have the ability to do a lot of good things, but if they don't have a budget behind them, they can't update things.
Well, I don't have a
If
problem with the
there's
budget.
been discussions about getting involved in updating the master plan, that's built in here in case we go forward with it next year.
But we
so-
got rid of Wade and Trim, and we went to PCE for a reason.
You didn't get rid of, you did
Yeah.
not get rid of
You
Wade.
did.
You
No,
didn't, I
we did
still have
not.
the contract.
We did, we voted for it.
We got,
Read the ordinance.
got-
I asked her last night for
Okay.
the contract, so I can look at them. But we, when I was on the board, she was on the board, we voted out Wade and Trim
that
on
was for
everything.
engineering.
On everything.
Everything, Mike, it was
Okay.
everything. I know Elaine
I
likes
sat
it.
back here and voted on it,
Yeah,
so.
all right.
And I sent you the contract bill today
Okay.
in your email.
I have to go in the office, see if I got it.
Let's see, recreation.
Oh, that thing is-
Okay, go to recreation. So we're increasing a little bit for the wages for full-time and keeping the part-time the same.
Yes.
Okay, so again, we had all our notes, the footnotes. I know you don't like the footnotes, but, so what are we doing here? Are we doing anything?
Basically, this year, we're keeping with, general maintenance is pretty much it. The reason that I have the 20 in the requested is in case there is anything that comes up, or I would like to be able to use that money for some, matching grants if Michelle is successful in going after some for park renovations. I know she's looking at, some different things that have popped up this year, so that's what that's for.
So, since you had the kayak launch and that, we haven't done it yet, but you've already spent all the money, right?
No.
The rest of it's still in this year's.
42's in this year, finish up
To finish
kayak
it.
launch.
It'll be done.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I'm looking at the old budget. So that's what you're still doing everything there. So
Yes.
you're not gonna need anything additional for the kayak?
No.
What about the, the marina.
That, this doesn't go fall underneath this.
And anything
It's
else
not
in
a
the
part.
beach? Beach sand, you got that
sand,
covered?
I got sand and mulch built into that.
Land improve, that's in the land improvements. That's what it was in last year. Beach sand.
Under that land improvements or the park improvement, all the signs that classified what park is what down there, we've talked about painting those, how many times?
I've talked to most of the people, they were gonna replace them themselves. So, in fact, I think somebody from the Rotary Club mentioned that they might go down there and paint that sign up or replacing it.
We were told the city was gonna, the Rotary Club was told the city was gonna do the faces, the back says Rotary on it. And
Well,
we
no one's
maintain the
contacted
back.
me about that or talked to me about it.
Okay, I know that was talked about.
Okay, I don't have anything for the library and the museum. I see we must have done some good repairs in the last budget. You don't anticipate anything this year?
At the museum? Yeah. We replaced the furnace, you know, that took out, that went out. Can't say what it was gonna say.
So that's why you dropped it down?
Yeah.
I'm good with that one then. All right, so I'm, skip this one page. I'll go on to the major street fund.
This is where that this is where that one of the $5,000 transfers will be.
So you're gonna update that first line,
Yes.
all right? So my question is, how did you calculate the amount of money for this year for the state weight and gas tax?
Where,
Your 330.
Next line down.
oh, that was in, didn't that come from the Sigma accounts, Denise? So that's, we have a Sigma account with the state, and that, those numbers are put in there.
They come from it's on the state website, there's a website on the state, and I think, we separate it by local and major street fund based on the monies that come in. Yeah.
Now, the audit, he showed for last year that we got 355,000.
That's from the audit that you're saying we should increase it based on the audit again.
Well, that's what he had ending last June.
Okay, we can
Three-
do it based on this
355.
audit number then.
So that's the 5. So, then you have to take that figure, and that's your half of that goes on the next page for your interfund transfers out.
Yes, this is the one where I said that it was happening in phases, so this one's not complete yet. This will be completed.
So is that figure gonna change?
Yes,
Because from what I figured, it
it's
should be
not completed, it
165,
will be done,
250.
yes.
And it has to, because it violates an act if we don't get that one done right. So that will be done before the budget's approved?
Yes,
See if I can think of anything else. All right, I guess that's the only thing I have on that. Wait a minute.
Just to confirm that this coming year, you take the American Rescue Plan money out of the picture. Outside of that, we're not planning on any big road improvements this coming year, correct?
Not at this time, no.
Okay,
if anything, I'm gonna, hopefully get grant, like, we're gonna work on
Yep.
some grant
Yep.
options this year to try to supplement.
yeah,
We had 7 projects shovel ready,
Yeah.
for grants.
Yes.
yeah.
Are we still doing 2 a year? Roads?
We don't have the funds to do them. We burned up a lot of funds the
Yep.
last year and the year before. Now, when I explained this before, when we first had our committee, we'll be able to do some roads, then we'll have to take a year break and then do some more.
It may be even a couple of year breaks, because we've hit a lot of the low hanging fruit. Now you're getting into some of the more expensive things.
I think if you look back at the commission meeting, the commission voted to 2 a year.
That's not, it shouldn't
So,
tie us into a suicide pact though, if we can't afford it.
well, the reason we were talking about that is so that Mike could get ahead of the game and get some bids, so that we could see if we could even do them.
We have some bids, so that is something that Mike has worked on, and he has, PCE has prepared and updated for us. I have a stack of roads that are teed up and ready to go cost-wise. So in the event that we can score some of this grant money, we have some roads teed up with cost.
I got 7 projects that run from 500,000 to 900,000.
But I didn't know that you had, because we were talking about the roads, and then, but I've never heard anything that you've gone out for any bids for anything.
We didn't go out for bids yet because we don't know where we get the rest of the money to cover the
You
cost.
can still go out for bids, and then if you come up with money, then you can do it. But if you're not
So
gonna bid it.
it's gonna cost me another $10,000, go through PCE to put a contract together to put this out for bid.
PCE gave us the estimates that they can give us for things, but I'm with Mike, we can't go out for official bid. Not to mention, if you go out to bid without having a job at the other end of it, and these people are doing this work for nothing, and then we're not gonna hire them, they're not gonna bid on our stuff anymore. That's a very slippery slope.
Your contract is 6% of the total cost. So if I'm doing a $500,000 job, it's gonna cost me $14,000-15,000 to them to draw the contract, implement the contract, and watch the contract. That's to put it out for bid.
I was just wanting to know if you got any prices, any idea what percentage
We are,
it's doing, and you wouldn't know until the fall, and I think it's when you said you'd have to start doing that.
we put the contract book together and put it out for bid, we need an engineering firm. I just can't put it out for bid.
Have we talked to our engineering firm about getting grants and stuff for projects like some of the other people are getting?
I have, and I was very disappointed in PC's response. It's not what they do, is what he told me.
He told us when we hired him that he can do grants with no problem.
Well,
Yep.
We asked him that specific.
I had multiple conversations with different local entities around the county asking how they've been so successful in this. And that's when I found out, when Marine City wasn't at the table at multiple meetings, that we didn't have an engineering firm that was helping seek out grants like some of the other communities. So I specifically asked Mike to put a meeting together with him and me and John so that we could talk about this. And he looked me in the eye and said that that is not what they do. They will go and do things that we ask them to do, but they are not going out searching for grants. So
They will put the grant together, yes.
Yeah.
If you find a grant, they'll put it together,
Yeah.
but they don't go searching for it.
yeah. So it wasn't the response I honestly thought we were gonna get from him, because it's not the response that I know other municipalities have gotten from him. So I think that is something that we need to consider in the next few months about potentially going out and allowing ourselves to work with more than one engineering firm for this. I don't know that we should be pigeonholed to PCE for it, because I don't know that they are doing their full due justice to us the way they are some of the other municipalities when it comes to this. We're small like everybody else, and we need all the help we can get, eyes and ears on the ground. And if they're working in other communities where they're hearing about these grants, I don't know why it's so hard to not shoot me an email and say, hey, these communities are going after this one, look at, go check this out. But that's not happening, so.
My memory's failing me again. Go figure. can you take a look and see if we're locked in with them?
We're not.
Okay,
There's not a hard, there is no contract with
Okay.
PC. It was a vote agreement that you use them, but I mean, even their rates and everything else, it comes and goes based on the projects,
maybe
so
we should relook at that here in a couple meetings here, but
I agree. I agree.
All right. I guess I don't have anything more on that page or the next page, unless somebody else does.
So, where'd you go?
But I'm gonna stop at the street cleaning page.
so that's what, Department 522.
You didn't get away yet.
Oh, jeez.
All right, so equipment lease.
Yes. So sweeper cost, our last payment is October 22nd of this year.
Yes, so if we look at, again, I'm gonna use the audit, we should be using the 2023 figures, and these figures aren't correct. Should be 28,068 for half, and
It's paid off in '22.
I understand that, but there's a schedule for that, and it tells you you pay down on it. So you take this figure and you cut it in half, and half goes in water, half goes in sewer for it. And here's the interest payment, same thing.
Well, you're gonna see it,
There is another payment.
The camel has another payment,
yeah.
but the sweeper doesn't.
The
All I'm
sweeper-
saying is the figure's not right for what we're paying on the payment and
The
the interest.
payment is $58,500. That's the payment. And it's split between local and major roads.
Which vehicle you talking?
It's a sweeper.
The sweeper should be at 56,136 for this year. The total with that and interest is 58,07. Here,
Well, the contract I have, the
Yeah.
final payment of $59,500 is due this year, October
Yeah.
22nd.
it's 56,136 with interest of 1934. That's what he shows us for 2023. He paid he's got the previous year.
Okay.
So that figure should be cut in half. So it
No,
should be-
because each one comes out local and major.
Yeah. So half is in this one.
Yeah.
So it's 29, it should be 28,068. And the interest should be only 967 instead of 1,000.
Okay.
Should be split.
So look into it.
Anything you got there?
It's cold.
Oh my God, I think it's wonderful.
Thank you, Jay.
All right, so that's it on major. Do a local. So yeah, those calculations, I got the annual too. Okay, so the transfers, let's see where I got this. Estimates. This should be 165 plus 500 should be 170 instead of 177. Based on the again. And then last year it was a 135 for the weight, not 131, it was 135, 638. So the audit's showing that we got higher amounts. So anyway, those two figures are, need to be looked at. All right, so that's it on that page. The next page, some of these defined pension plans, I see some of it's been removed, like in their storm drain. We just took it out, I guess. And equipment rentals under general admin, it went from 10 grand to 1,500. That's fine.
Where you at?
General administration on local street fund, page 17. It says Reynolds equipment, 10 grand was in there, and now we're down to 1,500, so we get rid of something?
No. That was overestimated from last year.
Okay.
Activity is 0.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, we're only into April, but yes.
well, I don't read nothing, so.
Right.
All right, so under storm drains, the defined pension plan got zeroed out. Medicare got zeroed out. Well, you got wages there, so you don't have any Medicare?
We're gonna double check those through the whole budget again. So that's fine for now.
Okay, routine maintenance, land improvements, that's zeroed out. What was the 30,000 for, do you remember?
That was for the local roads part of the Union Street project.
Okay. So since we don't have any, we don't need any. Okay, I don't have anything else on that page unless somebody else does. Next page, here's the street sweeper, so here's the rest of it.
Yes.
This one should be 28,068 under street cleaning, and again, the interest should be 967.5 per the audit. That's the only thing I got there. Got anything on the local street fund, we go to cemetery. So this is the one where we put the 25 in, so should it be 15?
No, the 25's in, the other 2 5s to the roads aren't done yet.
But you're only budgeting 25 total instead of 35 total.
We'll fix that.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
That's what we discussed earlier on. Yeah, that piece will be handled.
So hang on, let me go back. So you're gonna change the 25 figure on page 6 to 35.
Yes.
Trying to get it right because there was no response on that one. Okay. So burials, you don't know. We're up, but you're gonna keep it at 8. Even though projected activity is 12. And lot sales probably aren't going very well, people
Nope.
just aren't buying. They don't wanna spend the money. Can't say they blame them.
Cremation.
Not even, everybody's been put on the manhole.
All right, nothing else on that page unless somebody else has. This is the cemetery fund here. I see the defined pension plan, there's the contribution here, that went down. And the OPEB went down, so I always worry about those when we take them down too much. Because usually we have to do an increase. And that's why, to trying to figure this out, to see if we got the right figures in here without that information from Nyhart and that, it's kind of hard to figure out what you're budgeting. So we really need that. Okay, I don't have anything else there. Drug fund, I don't have anything. Law enforcement fund, nothing. Brownfield.
This is a pass-through.
Yeah.
We still have some more work to do in understanding it, because I do not know what the city had in place prior to this, but right now it acts as a pass-through account, so that's how we're treating it until we understand it more.
Right in the audit.
Okay.
That's the figure you should use, is right in this audit. So it should be 23,956 with 34,35 interest for 27,391 total. That's all, we break it down, he breaks it down right in here.
So $29,000?
Total is 27,391 is the
Right.
total.
Which is the activity.
Right, which is the
Yes.
activity.
That's
So
what
we
you
just
should have for
rounded
budget
it.
requested, it's not changing,
Right,
but you got 30,000. That's what
Okay,
I'm saying. It should be 27,391 per, this is what comes up every year. He makes the schedule for the whole thing. That's all I got for that one. So capital projects is a big zero, huh? That one, the next one, nothing. So now we start with water sewer funds. Let's see. Hang on, I'm trying to. The metered sales, the projection from the old revenue and expenditures is really 484 from last year. That's what we used. So do we project it's gonna go down? I mean, that's what we've got, it's projected to go down. I mean, that's calculated off of what we get from the revenue and expenditures report, and I think he also has it in here. Metered sales, let me see.
yeah, this,
Again, yeah,
is this, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, with the departure of some of the major businesses,
Yes,
that's why this went down.
Yes.
You lost your McDonald's, you lost, another major customer, and so it is legit. Your numbers have gone down from the lost business.
okay, so what about the unmetered sales of city buildings? Says the activity was at 2,000, but we dropped it to 500.
We did that because the, oh, let's see, I'm in the wrong spot. I don't,
Okay. So, the unmetered sales, okay, all right, now I remember, I got my note here. Under buildings and grounds on page 5, we have that water, which is estimated unmetered at 4,000, and that gets split between these two accounts, so both of these should have 2,000 in them. That's the unmetered sales city buildings, unmetered sales city buildings, water and wastewater. That's split from the buildings and grounds one. And what did, Mike, all the leaks we had, what kind of impact did that have on anything
for water,
at the tower?
a lot. Yeah. I haven't, July 1st is when I'll do my water loss estimate, you know, I have all my numbers in for the year. But last year we hit an 11% loss. This year, with the problems we're having out there, and right now, tower's going down tomorrow for the stand. So we're gonna be filling that up a couple times to flush it out, chlorinate it. So we're probably gonna be about 13–14% loss this year. I'm thinking. I'm hoping not any higher.
So, okay, I see the hydrant revenue is in this one. So after you figured all this out with our expenditures and revenues and all this, are you anticipating water or sewer rate increase?
yes,
And what's that increase?
we're gonna do a 2.75, we're gonna propose a 2.75 increase.
Okay. So
because
that-
there was not
That's part
one.
of this, that sheet, we need that as part of this budget.
You will be getting all of
That
that on May
breakdown.
5th. Yep.
So you're doing 275 in both water and sewer?
Yes. There was not a rate increase last year, and with the cost of chemicals that has gone up significantly, and F&V, our controllers, they have given us a 4% increase. So we felt that a 2.75 is an incredibly generous increase versus really what we're getting hit with. So we're basically looking at a break-even kind of number. So, yeah.
What did they recommend?
F&V is giving us a 4% increase on the cost to operate. Plus all the chemical expenditures have gone up just because of supply and demand kind of stuff, so.
And you're saying if you do this increase, you're gonna still break even?
That's what we're
It's-
figuring.
we're
It's
hoping.
gonna be close.
Well, yeah, that, like I said, those sheets have to be part of this so that we can see all the facts and
Well-
figures for the.
You know what, Lisa, if any of this stuff would have been available or mentioned to me in the last couple months that I've been working on it, I would have been grateful and I would have provided them, but I do not have a treasurer in the position, so I do not know historically where some of these documents are or how they're done. So all I ask is that if there was something more you wanted, you've had a few months to ask it of me. I'll do the best I can to get you what I can before the 5th. I'm not promising everything.
If you go into the prior budgets, the information is all there.
Right,
What-
but not
what-
all the working documents are.
Yes, all the working documents.
Oh, I
The
would
water,
love to see
when
you try to
Mary
find
Ellen
some of
did
this
them,
stuff.
when Mary Ellen did them, we had the water rate, the sewer rates, we had every chart that was available, it all goes in there because it's part of the budget.
Well,
It
it
has to
might
be.
not all be there this year. We're doing the best we can.
I understand that, but you can't pass a budget without all the information
We will
missing.
get you the information that is necessary to make the decisions. Extra
Those are necessary.
workbooks aren't necessarily a budget document. They are a workbook. As
All-
long as we provide the proper information, that's what's key.
All of these charts are necessary
Okay.
to this budget. All I can tell you is that's what's always been provided, so. all
But
I
I'm
really-
not a mind reader. I don't know, and I
All you
cannot.
have to do is pull
Everything
it
is not
over.
accessible. It is not all like you think it should be in here.
Well, you could, I would have given you, I got all the old budgets, I could have given
You had, it's a two-way street. You could have called me, you could have said, hey,
I
Holly,
assumed it would be in there.
when this stuff went out, you could have said, can you please make sure these extra documents are there? I mean,
But we didn't get it till 5
let's work
days
as a
ago.
team here. I thought that was the point.
Well, we didn't get this till 5 days ago, so how would I? know
Yep,
what-
one day shy of the notice. I'm very sorry. I'm
Right.
one person.
We're in,
Real
go ahead.
quick, pause. Shannon, your recorder's about to die.
Do you have batteries?
I do.
I don't know.
I did not.
Nobody say anything.
God forbid.
Where's restart?
Dick broke.
Need a plug-in.
I was about saying something to her about it, break, and I thought,
Are you running?
We are ready,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, game on.
Okay, we're into the water sewer system maintenance sewer. This is the camel lease payment, that needs to be corrected. And again, base it on the audit, 31,066 is the half. And the interest is 2445.50. One thing I'm, let's see, is this in here yet? No, it's next page, all right. So I think that's all I have for that page. Okay. let me ask this on the next page for the wastewater treatment plant, we had depreciation expenses, so they've been removed. We're not gonna count on depreciation any longer?
That's Curtis.
Because we don't need it anymore?
I guess not.
Well, this is a cash budget, is what was explained to me.
Yeah.
That this is a cash budget, depreciation isn't a cash item.
Yeah,
You had us put it in last year.
and we don't want it in there going forward. It doesn't make sense to have it
We
in there.
talked, we've talked to both Curtis and Mary Ellen on that.
Yes.
Okay. That's the only question I had on that one. Okay, this page, system water maintenance, this is again the other split payment for the Camel.
Camel?
Yeah. With the interest on here?
For the audit.
That's it for that one. Somebody else has something?
Look way ahead.
All right, so this one, this page, what we got here?
Are you on the water plant?
I'm on 592, page 31, water sewer fund, water plant, yeah. So you said that's coming out. Building repairs, so what you gonna try to do this year on the water plant? At 100 grand?
We have, this year at the water plants, we had the filter panes, lab replacements, the PLC replacement, which you approved. Piping development for about $20,000, $3,000 for electrical cleanup again, and water line replacements of $25,000.
Okay. Can we get a little breakdown of that? Just a breakdown. I mean, can I have a little list of that, just so I know what this is?
Yeah.
No problem.
That's all I got on that one, if somebody else does. Okay, this one got zeroed out, but it comes from a resolution that normally we have to do to cover the next page. So I'm not sure what you want to do with it. I can give you a resolution number on this one.
What line item?
We're on page 32 for the interfund transfers, that $500 that was there, now it's gone.
699.000.
Yeah, what resolution are you looking at?
Number 0092021. This goes to cover the stuff on the next page.
We'll pull it and take a look at it.
Okay. And if I can find the other resolutions to help you on some of that, I just got to dig them up. I didn't bring them all. I didn't write them all in here. So let me see what else I got here. Do we know how many units we used in the water? Anybody got an idea? How many units we used last year?
For the whole entire city?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it, not on me, but we have it.
Well, if you can add that to your list.
Okay.
I think that's all I got.
No.
Okay, with fee schedule,
Yeah, I just thought of
Yeah. So the fee schedule, we printed off, and I went to each of the department heads and asked them for their insight if there is anything in the fee schedule that needed to be added, deleted or changed based on their experiences, ordinances that they work with, or their liking, to just try to get things more in line. So departments weighed in on this, not just me. Everything in yellow, I wanted it to be clear what it was so you can see everything that's hashtagged out and where, you know, what it's being substituted with. I mean, it's very straightforward, so I'm just gonna, if somebody has a question on one in particular, I just suggest doing that because everything else is very straightforward. We definitely did raise some fees. We were not asking for enough to cover certain things. You'll notice in the building department specifically, because there's a $75 fee, that's what Tracy charges, we needed to up it to actually cover what is being done so that the city wasn't, you know, eating anything. And we want to make sure that we're getting a portion, so.
Well, if you get the application fee, most units that I'm in, the application fee goes to the unit, and then he gets after that.
I believe it's a portion. I'll have to double check on it with Tracy how it works, but it's a portion of it, so.
Yeah, they don't get that fee, we gotta collect something.
So,
Could you possibly add page numbers, and could you get this, I know in this program, you can take this and make sure it shows up on each page, because you don't get the header
yeah.
on each page. One I had a question on is the very last page. Well, I got some other questions, but this is a biggie. You got tax roll electronic copy going from $100 to $1,500.
Because
30 seconds.
that is what is normally charged in communities. So
That's
we actually asked Wendy this number came from our assessor and what the county does. And yeah.
I mean, if somebody FOIA's a tax roll, then it's gotta go under the FOIA, which means it has to be reasonable and whatever. So I got some real doubts that they can charge that kind of money for something that you can download in 30 seconds. It's just a file.
Yeah, we were basing that off what the county does.
Well, yeah, but you're talking a small town, and somebody's gonna come in here, and this town has got, half the town is living in poverty. So you have to really be careful with some of these fees, like I see some of the planning commission reviews, they've been upped. Where did I see one of those?
The planning, so specific to planning commission stuff, I pulled our neighboring communities here in St. Clair County, and we picked a number based on what is reasonable for our community. We have really been lowballing ourselves, truly. So these are consistent with what is around here in St. Clair County.
So what's for a reinspection? What is that entitled for? So if
Where are
you
you at?
inspect it once and then you fix it and you come back and reinspect, I gotta pay another $75? Page 5. That's my page 5. The permits reinspection.
Yes. If it's something that has to be re-inspected for opening or use, yes, that's standard. We're paying Tracy to do the work. The city should be recouping the funds.
But he's getting most of the fees.
He's not getting all of the fees though.
He's getting the majority.
We have
of
to
it.
pay for him.
All right,
And you
here's
want things done properly. You want to make sure the inspections are right.
Yes, you do, but
So,
there's been issues with that too. So there's one on page 7, lot purchase, it jumps to $1,100, and a non-resident's $2,100.
That's me.
that's Mike.
It was always double for non-residents, and going through research of all the other communities, I'm right in line with everybody else.
Okay,
We put a $100 maintenance fee on, just like everybody else has,
okay.
okay?
Yeah, I can guarantee people not buy lots.
Well,
I know what you're saying, Mike, but, you know, the more we raise these, the less people
I agree with
will
100%.
spend it.
But you have to remember too, specific to cemetery, there is a lot of expenses that go into our cemetery. And the money, the revenue that comes in from that does not usually equate to what he expenses. So that is another very slippery slope. You've got to be able to pay for your workers, your wages go up, the dirt, the maintenance on everything, the stones break, the trees fall, the list goes on and on. We have to yes, you have to keep a clean, happy, clean, nice, put-together cemetery. It doesn't come cheap.
I understand it. I've been watching these budgets for over 20
I
years, so
understand, but
you know.
I can't not
But I
pay for
also
the
know
things.
how the people are. I mean, if you start, where's the other one? One thing we didn't talk about when we did the cemetery, and I missed it because that's in this 5-year plan. Are you gonna do repairs to that chapel this year? Remember we talked about the roof needs to be done?
We looked at the roof again, the patchwork we did is good in there. Right now, we're running at $25,000 deficit in the cemetery. That's why we're trying to get that gap a little closer, so we don't have to tap into general fund money.
I know.
More
We've
to
had
get in there.
bees in there, they're
That's
chewing up
all,
the wood.
that's all taken care of.
The damaged wood's all been replaced?
We caulked it all in, painted everything up, and
All right. Yeah, we need to seal that thing up so that it
I
doesn't.
agree 100% on that.
And I see you're no longer doing curb cuts.
We never have, we haven't done them in 5 years.
All right, and the pavilion, that's staying the same, you're not changing the pavilion fee?
I think one of the things too is to look at is over on the very far right-hand side, I mean, take a look, some of these things have not been increased in a lot of years.
Okay,
It's,
page 10. Violations. First one is $75 for the first notification, $250 for the second notification, and $500 for the third notification.
yes.
I mean, so are you gonna, not everybody can afford it. A lot of people want to fix their stuff, they just can't afford it, so we're gonna hit them with these regardless. And then what happens if they can't pay?
So,
Are we gonna work with them at all on some of these people?
Yes.
You have to.
well, and everything is not rubber stamped, but let's be very honest here, Lisa. A lot of the things have been let go. One of the biggest beats, even by residents that live in this community, are the blighted out issues. We have not had teeth in anything to stand behind it. They get letter after letter after letter that goes in the garbage and they do nothing. They can make a phone call and say to Jim, I'm gonna work on this week, I'll work on this next month, this is what I can afford to do. He puts that in the system and he backs off them. We do that, but this is for the people who don't care. And year after year, the place gets dumpier and dumpier and nothing gets done. You have to have teeth in it. And this gives you teeth. This gives us an ability to force the hand and make them do something.
But not everybody can afford to
Then they
fix up
shouldn't
the house.
own the property.
Well, you can't tell them
You
that.
you have a responsibility to the community.
I see
and
a
if
lot of
you don't
houses
put
in town that
something in
need paint.
place-
You're gonna go after everybody that needs paint? I remember that came up a couple years ago.
That's ridiculous. That's not the case. We're talking about truly blighted out structures and we all know what that looks like.
Well, sure, we had one, and I couldn't get our building inspector to get rid of it, until the neighbors, I got them all to sign a complaint to do it.
Well, that's a different issue.
But
So
some of
this
those
is about the
things,
fees.
But the tool is there if we need it.
That's exactly it, Mike.
We're not going to say, hey, first time here, they're gonna get, hey guy, get this taken care of, because you're looking at this $250 fine first.
Yes.
We're not gonna slap them.
I hope so, but there's been also discussions or confusion, I get this question all the time from people in the city, about who's responsible for what. If it's on private property, it's the code enforcement, if it's out in the street, it's the police department. We seem to have this argument on a regular basis. That's one thing, if we talk about some of this stuff, maybe that's another thing that we can finally nail it down, because technically, if it's on private property, it's supposed to be the code enforcer.
We already got that taken care of.
But it's
Wait,
still,
yeah.
I had somebody call one in a couple weeks ago,
The
and it
sidewalk-
was on private property, and they told them they had to call the police.
The sidewalk between the inside of the edge of the curb
Yeah,
is mine and Jim.
Yep.
And the other side is code enforcement.
yeah. But that's not how it's been working, I can tell you that. Based on what people have called me.
That's
Well,
why
tell
we
them to
filed a
call me.
complaint.
That's
Tell them to
first
call
I've heard of
me,
it.
because I'm the one who's supposed to be handling it, and I have been working on this with both Jim and Jim.
Yeah. 'Cause
So
I've been
have them
going-
call me.
I've been going to these calls too, and then telling them, you need to get hold of the building inspector, that's on the inside property.
Mhm.
So I do inform them that.
Yeah, okay. All right, I don't know.
So I think, honestly, I think this fee schedule is pretty fair, and like I said, all the department heads were involved in setting the fee schedules based on things that they knew they needed, based on their expertise, so it just kind of gets us back in line where we need to be. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, do we have any other comments before we wrap up here?
Okay, so I guess my only question is, before we go to approving the final budget, we're gonna need all the updates. I mean, and I know this is difficult, but we're gonna need them sooner than just that night so that we have enough time to go through them again. I know it's tough, but that's part of the budget process. I have to be able to review this now, the next one, when everything gets updated, and make sure that I'm good with it before I can vote on it, so that's my only comment.
Yep, we will update everything, we will email it all out, and everybody will have everything
I'd like a
prior
paper
to the
copy,
meeting.
please.
They'll be available in the office. We will make sure that they're available in the office.
Because eventually, how many days before this has to be put up for the public's viewing? They
Uh,
have to have so many days before
I
the
know,
public
well,
hearing.
I will look, I don't know right off the top of my head right now.
Okay. I think they have to have 30 days or something.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Support.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
We can cancel tomorrow.